How's it going, everybody? Just listening to a little Coliseum, one of the greatest bands out of Louisville. Oh my gosh, dude. Just love their music. Great hardcore band, one of the best bands out of Louisville in my opinion, right up there with King Horse and Glass Pack and all that. Just really great band. I love hardcore music, you know. I know that sounds kind of goofy and stuff, and a lot of metal guys aren't big fans of hardcore. You know, it's rock and roll, you know. It's distorted guitars and you know, honest lyrics, you know. Bands like Coliseum, Superjoint Ritual, Arson Anthem, Black Flag, all those bands really influenced me pretty heavily early on. So it's pretty close to my heart, and I think Coliseum's one of the best hardcore punk bands out there right now. And it's great that they're from Louisville, and they're going to be playing at the New Vintage in Louisville. Anybody out there from Louisville, go check it out. They're playing with a couple other bands. Can't remember their names right now. Haven't heard of them, but I'll look into it. And I'm hoping I can go see them. I mean, tickets are really cheap, is what I meant to say. At the New Vintage, a great new music venue, right there beside Centergoss Coffee. A lot of great stuff has happened there. Bombino's played there. He's an African guitar player. My good friend Matt Anthony from the Tim Faulkner Gallery, he's done a couple DJ shows there. Spun some records and all that good stuff. So it's a great place. If you can, go check out Coliseum at the New Vintage. I believe it's April 29th. So it's coming up quick. So I'm hoping, hopefully I'll get to go see it and I'll come and talk about it on a video or something. What I want to talk about today, I'm not really going to pick up the guitar, I don't think, unless, you know, I feel like it. It's just kind of, well, I guess I should say it's Easter Sunday, and, you know, Easter deals with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's the day that we celebrate it. I don't think anybody really thinks it's the exact day that he rose from the dead, you know, back in history. But it's the day we celebrate it. Yeah, it's just celebrating Jesus' resurrection from the dead. There's not anything more metal than that, coming back from the dead, if you ask me. But that's goofy, I know. What I want to talk about just a little bit is kind of resurrecting your guitar playing, I guess, or maybe removing some mental blocks when it comes to guitar playing, rhythm playing, soloing, being creative, whatever. And this can deal with, you know, anything that you do, even if you're not a guitar player, musician. I mean, it can apply to guitarists, drummers, bassists, you know, cellists, violin players, whatever. Whatever you do, if you're, you know, if you build, you know, houses or whatever for a living, you know, anything can, any of this stuff that I'm about to talk about, I think, can really help. Something that has really helped me over the years is to just try to figure out different ways of playing, things that are kind of odd and quirky, that make my particular guitar style unique, whether it comes to tone, you know, what type of amps I use, or guitars or whatever. And sadly I'm you know, the cash isn't flowing in like I'd like it to at the moment, so I wish I had a ton of amps and guitars I could show you, and a bunch of effects, but I don't. I've got a nice little tube-driven Jet City amp with a little cab over here that I use most, and then I got my big blue Fender Telecaster, which you may have seen in the last video. But what I'm going to talk about is just little quirky things. Like me, I hold the pick a bit different than most people. I guess I hold it in a more Stevie Ray Vaughan style. You know, most people play with the sharp. You know, here's one of my Dunlop Gator picks that my friend Jeff Crowder turned me on to, and he actually gave me a bunch of 2mm ones, and I moved down to the 1mm. It was just a little bit thinner, gives you a bit more articulation, but 2s or 1.5s are great. I don't know how well you can see that. They're Dunlop Tortex. They've got the gator head on them. Most people play with the sharp edge of their pick, you know, this edge right here. And I did that up until about a month ago. played with the sharp end of your pick, and that's fine if you do it. I mean, you know, that's what most guitar players do. And then, you know, I remember, I was thinking back, and I remember reading somewhere that Stevie Ray Vaughan actually held his pick backwards. Now, I'm not sure if that meant he used the entire flat edge of that pick, you know, to pluck the strings and strum or whatever, or if he did what I did, or do, which is kind of hold the pick, I guess, sideways. Like if you're looking at the pick that way, I grip it exactly like that, so that that rounded edge is sticking out. So you've still got kind of a point. You're not playing with it totally flat. You still got a point, but it's rounded. It glides across the strings a bit easier. Has a bit duller, rounder tone, which I like, but you can still attack the picks and get a nice sharp sound out of it. I don't know many other guitar players that do that. I mean, I guarantee you they're out there. And I think from a couple of the jazz picks, you know, that Dunlop makes, I think they're mostly rounded, like, you know, every edge is rounded. I believe some of them are really sharp. I've seen some of them that are really dull, you know, on what's supposed to be the sharp edges. So there's guitar players that are out there that do it, I guess. But this is my favorite way of doing it. Is just taking a good old standard pick for the most part, flipping it on its side. And that's something you should try out. I mean, it's you know, or even, you know, holding the pick any way you want. You know, it doesn't really matter. Test it out, see how it goes for you. Like I said, that's the way I like to hold my picks. So I think a lot about quirky little things like that. Like I've talked about before, Greg Ginn and Josh Homme, Jack White, John Frusciante, guys that are kind of quirky guitar players but are very good nonetheless. Really gave me a lot of inspiration very early on. So, you know, I'm always looking for little things like that, you know, so that's really influenced the type of strings I use, the type of guitars I like, the type of picks I have. It's all very important to me, and it's important. It should be important to all guitar players. Another thing that's really helped me over the years is thinking. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Not in a like an egotistical way, but thinking, you know, that you're better than you are. And hear me out on this. When I say that, I mean when you're trying to come up with a riff or a song, or you're improvising a solo or playing a solo or doing, you know, just practicing, play better than what you think you can. Like, say you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can pull that off, go for it, you know, especially if you're just practicing or whatever, you know, just go for it. Don't just practice the same, you know, scales over and over again. It's like, hey, what if I throw that note in there? You know, do it and see how it sounds, and if it sounds bad, you know, big deal. Everybody makes mistakes, and, you know, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be sitting in your room or practice space or whatever, just hanging out. So, you know, just do it. And like I said, in your mind, always have that thought, you know, play better, play better, play better, play better than I think I can, because I'm not a guy that's naturally good at anything, I don't think. People hear me play guitar and they're like, dude, you've got, you know, you're so good and you have such a natural talent for it. But what they don't realize is that for, shoot, I don't know, 3, 4, up into 5 years, I just sat in my room and just played constantly, and I was no good at all. I had no clue. Any of the records that I listened to, you know, anything, I had no clue what really, you know, how to play guitar well, I guess you could say. So what I did was I sat in my room and just and read and played, you know, read magazines, read guitar books, read scale books, and just practiced over and over and over. Tried to learn some of the solos of my favorite guys. I know Stevie Ray Vaughan was a big influence on me very early on, as was Hendrix. John Frusciante, I learned a lot of his solos. So yeah, I mean, I'm not naturally good at it. I've developed that natural ability, I guess you could say, but it took a lot of time. It took a lot of, you know, I've played till my fingers were raw and even bleeding before, just because I just wanted to nail it so bad. So now I've kind of evolved or developed that ability to hear something, for the most part, hear something and be able to play it, and improvise my own things and come up with different guitar parts that sound, you know, for the most part like me. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that I've spent years, and I'm still learning. I still have a long, long, long way to go until I'm anywhere, good enough to be, I don't know, like, good enough to hold my own in a band, like a real touring band and stuff. So I'm still learning it, but I've, developed that ability. And, yeah, that's a thought I've always tried to keep in my head is play better than you think you can, do better than you think you can, and if you mess up, do better the next time. Learn what you did wrong. And I think any guitar player would probably tell you that if you asked them, what did you do for the first 5 years you were playing? I just played and played and played and practiced. Paul Gilbert, a guy with, he's got a flawless alternate picking technique. He's said that it took him years just to get to the point where he's at now. And he would even tell you he's not perfect, even though he's probably one of the best at it. He's still not a perfect guitar player, and I don't think anybody reaches. You should always be learning and growing as a guitar player. Sure, it's great to find your sound, and I think there is a threshold where you reach a very, if you practice enough and you write enough songs and play with, enough people, you can reach a very high level of guitar playing, like somebody like Eddie Van Halen or something, or Zakk Wylde. But even those guys are still learning stuff. I hear Zack's new record, and there's new licks on there, new riffs, all kinds of stuff. So you can tell that even after 20, 30 years of playing guitar, there's guys that are still learning stuff, because there's just so much you can do with 140, 150, notes that you have on a guitar. I don't know. I counted one time. I think it was around that number. Let's see, 12 times 6. I'm not going to try to do the math. But there's just so many different things you can do, so many note combinations that you can pick up. So always keep that in your head, that you can do better and you can be better. And that's a thought that really drove me early on. It's like, man, I've got to get this because I love it so much, and I wanted to be in a band so bad and just play music with people. I didn't care about, and I still don't. Didn't care about the money or the fame or the adulation that comes with being a guitar player in a band. I just I loved people, and I loved music, and I wanted to play music with people. I wanted to express myself through that. And that's another thing you got to think about is, and I'm guilty of this. I've been, for the past 6 months, actually, I've just been kind of in this daze with my guitar playing, where I just play and just practice and just do the same scales over and over, and that's good, and that's practice, but I've really tried to reawaken or resurrect Easter Sunday, resurrect that emotional side where I'm just pouring my heart into the guitar and just letting God speak through me into the guitar. And so yeah, just remember, no matter what you're doing, it's not about how many notes you play or how fast you are, or how many licks you know. It's all about the emotion, and all about how you can pour yourself into the guitar and get the best sounds you can out of it, and expressing yourself in the right ways and in the ways that resonate with you. So yeah, there's a little guitar philosophy. One more thing I'll talk about. And again, I'm not in a band at the moment. I'm looking, and I'm trying, but I'm not in one right now. But I've noticed when I have been in bands and played with people, it's like, obviously it's because I'm not just sitting in my room. I have a job to do, and I'm playing in front of people. But I feel like my guitar playing kind of goes up a notch if I'm playing with somebody or playing on stage. Like, I do better. Because you're with the other other musicians and everything, and you're feeding off them, and you're remembering all these things that you've practiced, and you're finally getting to apply it. And that's the most important thing, is application of what you've learned. If there's no application, you might as well not have learned anything at all. So, and I know I'm saying that here, me sitting in my room, not with a band. But sometimes it just goes down like that, and all I can do at the moment is just practice and just try to get as good as I can, and try to write lyrics, try to write some songs, and have a few good riffs ready for when I do go into a band, I have something to present and something to give to the other guys, and hopefully they've done the same thing and are ready to give something back to me. So yeah, if you can, get yourself into a band, get yourself out there playing with other musicians. You know, do anything just to get into the music business and be around musicians, which is something I'm really working on right now. I'm talking with my friend Jeff at the moment, trying to get something nailed down. He's got a production company. I'm hoping to maybe work with him on that. So yeah, just all those things, you know, and there's more. There's tons more stuff. You know, go listen to interviews with, you know, guitar players, and they'll tell you even more than what I've just told you. But those are 2 or 3 things that I've really tried to internalize and make a part of my guitar playing. So, you know, kind of to recap, I guess, you know, figure out different ways of playing, figure out quirky scales, quirky note choices, holding the pick different, using different string gauges. Throw different pickups in your guitar if you want. Some pickups I'm hoping to get pretty soon is the Billy Corgan set of pickups, which are just really nice pickups. He's from the Smashing Pumpkins. And there's you an example right there of another great guitar player that's kind of underrated. He's got a very, very unique playing style. When you hear Billy play, you know it's Billy for sure. And I really spent a lot of time getting into the Smashing Pumpkins music, so I'm sure I'll take a video and cover that later. But yeah, you know, take it easy. You know, don't stress yourself out too bad about it. You know, I'm not too worried about being in a band at the moment. I know I've got things to learn and things to work on, and when God opens up those doors for me to be in a band, I know I'll be ready, and I'll step in and do what needs to be done as far as that goes. So take it easy, keep rocking, and have a good Easter.